may help towards the sort of funding. I won't go into any more detail than that, but I think if I was to sort of try and sum it up in a nutshell, the 1.2, 1.3 million would need to be made up of a jigsaw of various grants to different organisations based around the activities that will take place in the town hall, plus probably a slice of public works loans as probably a last resort, but then other sort of grant income and potential lump sum from the library. So there's a little bit more work to do, and we'll go back to Finance and General Purposes Committee just to sort of look at the options and see what the next steps are for us.
Thank you very much. Do you want to add anything, Sam?
Well, yeah, I'm not really trying to be too upbeat about this at the moment, but looking at the sort of people who might give us grants, we're not looking at further than £100,000. And of course, with that as a limit, you can imagine that you won't get that much. But that would, the 1.3 million pounds the town hall development would cost, we'd be looking at a hell of a lot of grant money. And it does appear that the loans side of it is a bit more onerous than you think. In other words, it's about £70,000 a year per million. So we would be looking at £100,000 a year if we borrowed it all, which obviously we don't intend to. We've not intended to put any, the council in debt for the rest of it. All natural, but it doesn't look all that optimistic, to be honest. We will continue. And I believe David would like to speak, well, after the finance and general purposes, David Ainsley would like to give you his opinion on it as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Meeting with Councillor Tony Mathias, Dave Brown, reference ongoing support for the hopper bus from RCC. Ron, do you wish to report?
Chairman? Clark was there, Chair, so I'll defer whichever you prefer.
Oh, I'm happy for you, Ron, to.
Briefly, a very positive meeting, I would say. I think the town council was put forward in a very positive light, that it had expressed its views and sought community value and so on. The county council was trying to be helpful in its own way. It was, is that a reasonable phrase?
It's a reasonable phrase. Accurate.
Was telling us that, of course, they're not awash with money, but interestingly, capital is more achievable than revenue. So the most interesting revelation we came away from that meeting with was that the possibility of capital being made, perhaps interest-free loan, that sort of thing, by a county was not for public consumption particularly, but on the cards. And revenue, well, we might squeeze a bit more of them, was more difficult. So I think we came away a fairly positive frame of mind, asking them to think, look a bit harder. They said they wanted to look a bit further. What also became clear is it will be quite a long time frame on the countywide transport survey. So the thinking that members had here when I was out of the room, which was, let's think till Christmas at least, is probably sensible strategy, because they did apparently get a huge number of returns, and there's quite a lot of Uppingham in that. But for another positive thread, they were again issuing hints that if we were, for example, to create a community entity, okay, let me give it a name, Uppingham Bus Company, for example, which would be a voluntary sector, charitable sort of organisation, and that might actually stand to benefit from County 2 in a number of other ways. So we came away, I think, with sort of 2 or 3 possible long-term thoughts, and hopefully having pushed them a little bit to support us in the shorter term. It's probably worth commenting this point as well, Chair, because it's been off the road so much, there's enough money in the bank probably to run it another month or so on the existing monies, but we'll need to extend the insurance. But the meeting I came away from sort of fairly positive, given the fact it was a county council.
Is there another meeting scheduled?
They are going to come back to us on 1 or 2 questions but in particular, will they be able to offer anything at all. They made the usual noise that was difficult. We were looking for some revenue between now and Christmas, and they did indicate to come back more firmly on that through the floor.
Do you want to add anything?
No, I think that's it.
Any questions to Ron? Thank you. Well, I'm glad the meeting took place. So, although the outlook is obviously a bit uncertain. Uppingham first AGM and board meeting, 24th of May, which I attended. Do you wish to report, Ron?
Nothing particular. I think the minutes are circulated on there now, so I think members have had the notice of the meeting.
Yes, that is the case, yeah. Okay. Then we come to Uppingham Town Partnership AGM, held on the 25th of May. Miranda,
Minutes have been circulated.
any questions to our representatives on the Town Partnership?
Just to add that Sharon Omer is now treasurer, Susie Burrow is secretary, and I'm the chair.
You're in the chair?
I'm the chair.
Yes? Oh, good, right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're looking forward to the feast.
Yeah.
And I've
Indeed.
told Lucy that I will be very pleased to open it for her.
Brilliant.
Very successful and popular, as we all know.
Good, good.
Yeah, indeed.
Item 9, to receive reports from committees of UTC, F&G PE. Sam?
Do you want a quick summary, do you?
Yes, please.
Okay, well, the 3 items really. We reviewed the 4 proposals that were put forward for grants from the Larwood Section 106 money. We looked through and discussed them. They were only initial applications. We decided that there were several questions we needed to ask on each one of them, really. So at the moment, we're just clarifying that situation before we decide whether to go on and ask for them to submit a full application. So that was all 4 of them. So not one of them yet has got through to a full application. CCLA, I can't remember, Neil.
Churches, charities and local authority.
Yeah, well, this was a proposal that would avoid us having to hold loads and loads of different bank accounts, and £75,000 maximum guarantee. But it wouldn't really apply to CCLA because it puts money all over the place effectively, and therefore we'll be relieved of the bother of having to do that. So we propose now to go, just as an initial thing, we intend to go further with it, but we're going to put £25,000 worth of our reserves into it. What's 25, isn't it?
No, 75.
75.
75.
Crikey.
Sounds right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the 5 is right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, that's a move forward, but we will be looking to consider whether we could use the longer term account as well, which would give us a reasonable return on anything that we weren't actually intending to use short term. Where I think this is probably, there's another item here, but it was to do with the auditors. Neil approached 3 sets of auditors to replace Foxwise as at the end of this year. Only 2 replied, of which we identified Redwood Pryor as being the most interesting one of the 2. Good response, not just a one-man band, there appeared to be a few partners. And we are proposing that we go ahead and employ them. All.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
You're presenting it, I'll second it.
Oh, right, yes. Yeah, thank you.
Just a vote, second it.
Those in favour? Against?
That's all.
Thank you very much. So we move to staffing, which was the 18th of May at 6:30. But we don't have Lindsay, do we? So
No, I'll propose that the minutes be accepted.
I'll second that.
those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Planning committee.
This was held on the 18th of May, and I propose.
Seconded.
Oh,
Those in favour? Thank you very much. To receive the report from Foxwise Accountancy summarising the findings of the, is it findings? Yes, findings of the end of year internal audit for the period to 31st March 2016, June 31st of May.
Is there anything you'd like to start on this, or do you want me to make any comment?
Well, I have no comment. Well, I mean, it's very pleasing to see that RCC has picked up their act as far as providing us with information on payroll goes. Other than that, there are no criticisms at all. But I'm very pleased about that RCC one because it is long term. It's been a long term problem. Yeah. So no, we look forward. It's a good report. Well done, Neil. It's clean.
Yep, congratulations. Thank you very much. Yes.
Can I propose?
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. Item 11. Consider improving the hourly rate for the park attendance weekend caretaker role, having identified a suitable candidate from the current approved living wage, £7.20 per hour, to £8 based on 8 hours per week. Total cost for the year of £2,816 based on 44 weeks to the 31st of March next year.
I'll speak to this
Please.
to explain that. Sorry.
No, unless you've just to make it clear. Yes, 2816 isn't actually 2816. It's £281.60.
I'm so sorry.
It's not your fault. It's on the agenda actually.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. So it's not a massive issue.
Hang on, so this is,
It's an increase of £281.60.
oh, it's an increase of
No,
that per
no,
year.
no. Let me just explain it. That cost is the pro rata amount for the remaining weeks in the financial year. So the total cost of that salary from this last weekend through to the 31st of March will be £2,806.
Total cost, yeah.
Yes.
But the increase will be for an annual increase, coincidentally.
Oh, right,
It's
coincidentally.
£282.
You missed the coincidentally out. That's fine, right, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was bonkers. Right, so for those of you who remember, we approved this quite a while ago for a park attendant, and we've always paid traditionally the minimum wage for the last, I think, 3 park attendants that we've had. And we had 3 applicants, 2 fell by the wayside. I was left with 1 applicant who I happen to think is ideal for the job. But it was quite clear in discussions with them that actually the living wage at that level, never mind the minimum wage, was actually for weekend work, which is where the balance of their hours will be done, was lightweight. And we currently pay our existing caretakers and our other 2 staff nearer to £10 an hour. So it felt I felt personally quite uncomfortable with offering, but I got an indication from the individual that £8 would be suitable and would be agreeable, and on that basis I then opted to come to you. Now I've offered the position because we're absolutely desperate to get somebody on to Todd's piece. I offered the position subject to this agenda item, so the gentleman's been quite good enough to sort of say if it ends up being 7:20 I won't be happy, but you might not keep me long, potentially. So effectively I'm trying to sort of do a couple of things. One is get somebody doing a little picking, but also start somebody on the right rate, and we've resolved before to make it the living wage. So that's why this item's here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those in favour?
That's all.
Thank you. Item 12, to consider the following request for grant aid, which will, if approved, be awarded under the powers contained in the Local Government Act 1972, section 137 and 137A. Budget for the year, £12,000, and no allocations of grants made to date. Specifically, to consider grant aid request from Uppingham Bloom for £2,000 for the summer planting and watering.
I propose that we accept.
Those in favour?
Oh, all right, spoke to about. Sorry, Sam. I thought you were going to ask a
No,
question.
no, sorry, that's
Right.
Those in favour?
That's all. That's agreed. That's unanimous.
Thank you very much. To approve the accounts for the year ending 31st March 2016 and detailed income and expenditure report to 31st March 2016 and the book's balance.
Hey,
yes.
The 18p difference
Right.
is no more.
you rounded it.
I'm not sure where it's
These are
going,
in there now.
but anyway, it does balance.
Very good.
The only thing, just on this item, which you'll notice that the prior year's figures on the new format balance sheet and income and expenditure statement are shown as zero, which is clearly not an accurate reflection because we did trade and we did have a set of figures. And what I've done in this year's as a one-off, I've actually added last year's accounts as an addendum in full. So you've actually got 15 and 14 years. I did toy briefly a few weeks ago, knowing that I would have this problem, looking at how we could see if I could manually add the figures into this column. But RBS, in the throes of the discussion to try and unravel how the hell you do it, sort of advised me not to, and just advised me to put an addendum with the previous year's accounts in. And that's simply because some of you will recollect the painful discussion we had this time last year when I suggested that we change some of the headings, cost centres and codes and everything else, and reordered things so that we set the new system up in the correct fashion. There isn't a straight read across. And if I was to start trying to total some of the figures and put them under new headings, it wouldn't read correctly. And I think in discussion with Sam, I think there's also potentially a requirement that you would have to have those figures re-audited if you're going to represent them differently to the way they're originally presented and signed off in the
You've got
accounts.
to do it so officially, yes.
So they do appear as zeros, but you'll see that the prior year figures are at the back as an addendum. Are there any questions anybody has from the accounts? You'll also see in there that we've got all of the payments made under grant aid. We've also got the earmark reserves, which also you remember quite painfully me taking you through the process to try and arrive at the new earmark reserves for the current financial year. So they are all detailed in the adjoining notes. Are there any questions anybody has, and I'll deal with them as and when they come up.
if I could just add for a minute, Neil, that just take it through a quick sensibility check on this. This year, we just about stood our own, didn't make any significant profit or loss. So the situation, well, we had a grant in the previous year for the skate park, which we spent this year. So the sort of situation at the end of last year was that we had reserves of 120,000. If you take the skateboard reserve, which would have been included in the reserves off, that would have been about 100. And we didn't make any significant gains or losses this year. So that 100,000, the only adjusting factor for this year is the CIL, is it CIL money?
The
62,500.
Hawksmead agreement.
Yeah, the Hawksmead agreement. So it would have been 100, with that 62, it's 106, well, give or take £1,000 quid, it's £160,000 reserves, which you can see on page 2 is what we've got. So nothing remarkable. It's just very interesting to note, however, that 9 months into the year, it looks as though we're going to make about £40,000 surplus. So it's worth reminding them on for future years.
Well, and also, one of the other things that we've done this year that I don't believe we've done in previous years is we accrued for about 18,000 or 19,000 pounds of expenditure that we haven't had the bill for, that we incurred last year, that we've made sure is charged to last year to reflect in the figures correctly. And that's a process I'll continue to do for
Absolutely right.
So that, just examples being March's payroll will get put into last year, although we didn't actually get the bill until April. So it's just making sure. And one of the big items was the skate park, and so we incurred additional expenditure, but it's all been charged to the correct year rather than
that's, if you like, if all things remain equal, that's a one-off cash flow expense, if you like, that probably won't incur as long as we account for it properly next year and future years. So it was worth doing, in my opinion. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your work on that. Are you going to propose?
Oh yes. Could I propose that we accept the end of year accounts for 2000, for ending 31st of March, April 2016.
I'd be privileged to second.
Thank you. Those in favour?
That's all. And Ali, I'm just going to, I've forgotten the ruler.
I've got a ruler somewhere.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just going to ask you to sign these. Bear with me a second.
Oh, no.
There we go. And so there. So if you start there, that'd be fantastic.
Raise the flux somewhere, there is an open water there. I'll put that one out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Keep your ruler around.
Yeah.
Always going to be advice.
Very good. Well, that's a very important hurdle every year. So we move on to 14 to complete and approve the annual governance statement for 2015-16, for which everyone's had a copy, I think.
Yeah. Would it be helpful if I just, Bill, is there any chance you could look at Christine's? And I realise I have to dream. So I've sent you a copy of this out. For those of you who've seen it before, I don't intend to go through it, but it is, critically, it's page 2 of this document that's sort of stapled together. It's a standard document, so just so you know what we're looking at, page 5 of 6 is the internal auditor. They visited last week, produced that Foxwise Council report. They've signed us off to say everything's fine. On page 4 of 6, this will go off, this form will go off to Grant Thornton and they will complete their external audit. And ahead of that, page 3 is actually the figures lifted from our accounts, which I will now sign and document. And then on page 2, as a council, we have a series of questions and statements that we need to respond to. If we respond no, we will need to make some explanations to the auditors. Last year we answered yes to all of the following statements. And I was just going to ask, as you've had this for a few days, has anybody a reason why they would want to tick no alongside any of those statements rather than going through and reading everyone, unless you want me to read everyone and just explain them to you? Okay, so on that basis, I will tick everything as yes. And we just need somebody to propose.
I'll propose.
I'll second.
In favour?
And that's unanimous. Thank you very much, and I will sign that. Now, if you just there's a pen, and if you move your left hand along, perfect. Wonderful, thank you very much. Right, that's that item.
Good. Okay, item 15, to consider any final changes to the members nominated for UTC committees.
Would you like me to leave?
Personally, I don't think it's
I'm
necessary.
not going to let you on anyway, Mark. So,
So we go, no, A, Mark Shaw to be added to planning.
Which, yeah.
Second.
Those in favour?
That's all.
Welcome aboard. And I don't think there are any others because,
I've not been notified of any others, but if anybody wishes to speak now. Okay.
good, okay. Consider the following planning applications and make recommendations to ask the Uppingham County Council. Can I hand over to you, Dick, please?
Alec, if I can just intervene, we have one statement potentially. I'll just double check. Arriving in the public gallery, there's Norman Thompson. I'm sorry, I don't. Dr. May. Did you wish to make a statement before we go?
Dr. May's going to make a statement.
Okay, lovely. Then give them the opportunity.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
So if you'd like to go ahead.
Want me to stand up?
Yeah, you don't have to stand up.
But I'm second on here, not first.
That's up to you. So how you want to do it's up to you, Chair.
Well, would you like to make a statement first, then we'll do all the items? There's only one person making a statement, so if you wish to make a statement, then we can go through the items entirely.
Yes, I think we'll do it that way. Yeah.
It was only just to say that we applied for planning permission on that site up the Leicester Road after it was included in the neighbourhood plans for planning, and we wanted to go for outline planning permission. The planners in Oakham, Nick Budget to be precise, told us we couldn't just have outline planning permission, we actually had to put something down, shape of houses and numbers and things like that. So that's why we applied for 6 houses. We had been talking to various members of the council about putting 14 houses on it, but when asked developers and builders about whether that would make it more or less attractive, for us personally it makes it less attractive because it's 14 drives, 14 kitchens, 14 bathrooms, etc. And we thought that we would go for something simpler. the, that's about what we said.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Voting.
Okay. This is planning application A, which is 0431 CAT, and this is a proposal to fell 4 eucalyptus trees. Mr Nick Allen, Broadmead, Leicester Road, Uppingham, Rutland, LE 159 SD. When I have a look at these, I can see no reason why he shouldn't fell them. He's trying to fell them to allow 4 oak trees to prosper. So I propose that we grant permission. All those in favour? Item B, 0375 OUT, proposed outline planning permission for dwellings. Dr D. May, C. Bratley, S. Dolby and C. Wilkes, Cal Norman Thompson, 34 North Street West, Uppingham, LE 159 SD. Presume you've all seen the proposal, the outline proposal of the dwellings on the Leicester Road map, which is on the board. This was a site identified within the neighbourhood plan, and I propose that the outline planning permission is granted.
Chair, can we move an amendment?
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
simply because it's, I think, only the second one to come up with a neighbourhood plan, I was going to recommend that the council seek comment from the neighbourhood plan committee prior to giving it up.
Don't know if we've got that time scan. When does it have to be a response by?
Sorry, I need to
Yeah, yeah.
make it up to the. And I need my glasses. First time I've gone to read something without my glasses. This was received on the 17th of May, and we've got 21 days from there to respond. So we're really close to that.